I also serve on the Finance Committee, which has jurisdiction over tax, trade, healthcare, and a range of those issues. And as you know, healthcare has been widely debated already in the House. We are awaiting action by the House on a healthcare bill that we can take up in the Senate, and I'm hoping that they're going to get that figured out and back on the rails here before too long. But that's an important issue. Of course, it affects it's about a fifth of our economy now, healthcare is, and so we need to make sure that we get it right, and that's something that when it comes to the Senate, our committee will be involved with. Taxes. There's a lot of discussion about tax reform, and the tax code does need to be reformed. It's been 30 years. 1986 was the last time that was done. And if you think about what we need to do to get the economy growing at a faster rate, it's pretty universally agreed that one of the things that we can do is to reform our outdated tax code, make it simpler, more fair, more competitive in the global marketplace. If you look at the economy overall, in the last 8 years, economic growth has averaged about 1.5%. The historic average since the end of World War II is 3.2 to 3.5%. So we've been stuck in this 1.5% growth mode. If the economy had grown at just a historic average, a normal average, it'd be $5,700 more per person in income in the country today, if you got up to that 3.2 to 3.5% rate. And the Congressional Budget Office projects for the next decade that the economy is going to grow at about 1.9% to 2%, and we've got to get that back up 3% and north of there. And one of the ways we can do that, in my view, is to reform the tax code. Everybody agrees that the rate structure is forcing businesses out of the country. They're moving overseas, they're taking jobs overseas, and so what we're seeing is just kind of this stagnant economy where wages are flat. In fact, if you look at the impact over the past, since July of 2009, wages in this country have grown at 1/4% on average per year. So basically, people in this country haven't had a pay increase in about 8 years. And that's what a flat economy does. So getting a vibrant, more robust, growing, expanding economy is critical to getting better paying jobs, getting wage levels up. And the question ought to be, what are the policies, what kind of policy framework can we put in place that will contribute to that? And I think, obviously, tax reform plays pretty heavily into that. 1% increase, go back to that last slide, 1% increase in the rate of growth. If we go from what the CBO is saying we're going to grow at the next decade, which is 1.9 to 2%, get it up to 3%, it means an additional $4,200 in incomes, 1.2 million more jobs, and the standard of living doubles twice as fast. If you're a millennial today, you're operating at about 20% less than what the baby boomer generation had in terms of standard of living. And traditionally in America, at a normal rate of growth, at 3 to 3.5% rate of growth, the standard of living literally doubles every 30 to 35 years. Well, the rate that we're at right now, if we don't get growth back up to a more normal level, the standard of living it's going to take 70 years to double the standard of living. And that's why this whole issue of growth in the economy and a pro-growth tax code is really important. So we're focused on that. And then I would say, finally, I think in terms too of other things that we can do in the economy, there's just been a proliferation of regulations over the course of the last several years. And there are regulations that are important for public health and safety, and then there are regulations that are just kind of there for regulation's sake. And we need to figure out how we can lessen the regulatory burden on the economy, because we've made it more expensive and more difficult in this country to create jobs. And just as an example of kind of what I mean, this is the red tape that already, since the beginning of the year, through various actions taken by Congress and the administration, we've been able to reduce the cost of regulation by about $65 billion and save about 52 million paperwork hours in the economy. We're going to continue to look for ways to reasonable, smart ways of lessening the regulatory burden so that we can get the economy unleashed and growing at a faster rate. And the analogy I like to use, it's like if you were out here on Highway 12, you have to have a certain number of stop signs and lights to accommodate traffic to keep people safe. But sometimes if you get too many stoplights and you're stopping all the time, it becomes very, very hard to get any place. And things don't work in a very efficient way. And so we want to make sure that we've got the right number of regulations that make sense from a public health and safety standpoint, but not regulations that are there that simply make it more expensive and more difficult to do business in this country and to create jobs. So that's another issue that I think bears heavily on the economy and something that we want to address. That's kind of the range of issues that we're going to be dealing with over the course of the next several weeks and months when Congress returns. And I'm hoping that we'll make some headway and some progress toward getting that growth rate back up. Let's get back to 3 to 3.5%. What are the policies that we can put in place to make that happen? And of course, as I said, here in South Dakota, a lot of that deals with the ag economy. I think it deals with the cost of health care. I think it deals with the tax code. I think it deals with the regulatory burden, a whole range of issues that we want to get after.